Hi, and welcome to the Playing with Fire podcast. I'm your host, Brian Spitulski, an ex-firefighter and a current fire investigator. I am here with my beautiful wife, Darline Spitulski. She is going to talk to us a little bit today about her life experience as she can remember as far back as possible with the foster care system. We think this is an important topic because right now in the news, there is so much information about fraud, wasted money going for government programs. And Darlene started to hit on this because during her upbringing, which was the first 8 years of your life were a bit challenging,
7.
there was a number of foster homes that you had gone to. And as we were getting ready for this, you had mentioned that not once did anybody ever come check on you in those foster homes. So that's kind of where we started to go with this as our conversation was over the last couple months. And actually the last couple years, we've been talking about this. So you and your sister came up in the foster care system and then you were adopted. And once you were adopted, everything changed at that point. But why don't you kind of give us a little bit of a background on what you recall entering into the foster care system, how old you were, and some of the trauma that you went through?
Well, it pretty much started from the time I was born up until I was 7, and in and out of foster homes that entire time. Something would happen, we'd be taken away, and then we'd be brought back. And then something would happen again, we'd be taken away. My biological parents are both alcoholics and had drug issues. My biological mom drank a lot, was addicted to pain meds. And my biological dad, alcohol, and I don't remember what else, but both my sister and I were sexually abused by my biological dad and 2 cousins. So that's one reason that we were taken in and out of the home, as well as my biological dad was physically abusive.
So when you say that you were taken away from the home and then put back into it, do you mean the foster home or do you mean your biological home where you were taken out, put in foster care, and then brought back? Or is it both?
Both. So social services would come and remove us from the home and put us into a foster home.
Gotcha.
And we would be there for I don't know how long, I don't remember. And then I'm assuming my biological parents got their crap together for a bit, and then we would be taken back to our home.
At any time before you went back to your biological parents, did any social service person ever ask you, assess you, do a physical look at you to see what was going on with you? Or was it just somebody else told them you're being abused or you're in a bad home and then they just took you out?
I don't know how it came to be where social services stepped in. My sister would probably have a better memory of that. I don't know if it was schooling or lack of schooling. I don't remember. Like, I don't even have any baby pictures of me
Okay.
until like the first photos I have of me is when I was 7. So I don't remember a lot. I'm sure, I probably blacked it out, but I do remember several foster homes that I was placed in temporarily. In every foster home I was in, I was sexually abused. I do not ever remember anyone ever coming back and checking on me after they dropped me off. And my sister and I, luckily, were placed together in foster homes
Every time?
every time, except one time we were separated.
Wow.
And then, thank God, we were brought back together. After we were separated, I don't remember how we were brought back together. We lived in so many states: Ohio, Mississippi, Kansas. And Kansas was where we were last in our biological home before the police came in and arrested my biological dad and then took us away. We were placed in a hospital for a week just for observation and being cared for by the nurses and the doctors. After that week was up, I do remember social services coming and talking to us, and then they took us to my mom and dad's house. Now, when I say mom and dad, that is my mom and dad. I do not refer to my biological parents as my parents. They're
Right.
just my biological parents. And it was kind of interesting because my sister went to school with my brother who has Down syndrome.
Okay.
So they already knew each other. So when we got dropped off, her and my brother just went in the back room and they were playing, because they knew each other. And I remember standing in the doorway. My biological mom was there. And, it was the usual, I'll come back and get you. I'll see you in a little bit. And I remember holding on to her leg, standing in the doorway, just crying, begging her not to go.
So this sounds like a different type of placement than what normally happens with foster care, because I think normally a social worker will remove you from the home and then take you to a foster home.
Yes.
This case, your biological mom actually took you to mom's house that we call mom now and dropped you off there.
No. So social services did, but my biological mom was there.
Okay, got it.
So she was like a part of it.
Okay.
And I think the goal, was for her to come back and get us. My parents had us as foster kids for a year. After that year, I just found out from my mom that between the time they took us in and the year came up, my biological mom would always tell my mom, I'm going to come back and get them. I'm going to come back and see them. And she never did. And so for a year, my mom had to deal with this. And I'm sure that was hard on my mom. I'm sure we asked about our biological parents. After a year, my parents didn't want us to leave them. They had fallen in love with us and we became part of the family. And so I remember they asked us if we wanted to be adopted. And of course, we said yes. But also, I guess my biological mom at the beginning didn't want that because she kept saying that she was going to come and get us. Now, between this time, my sister and I did see my biological mom. And I have a half brother and a half sister that I don't talk with, but they would come. So I remember being adopted, but let me back up here. So being in the foster system prior to being to my mom and dad's, I don't ever remember anyone coming and checking on us. I remember they would just drop us off, and then this foreign family to us, would try to do their best.
Right.
But in every one that I was in, there was always somebody that did something to me.
And that's kind of one of the things that we want to hit on, is that there needs to be more checks and balances with the
Yes.
foster homes, because this is not unusual. There are a lot of foster parents out there that are doing amazing things. So I
Yes.
don't want to give the foster community a bad rap, but there needs to be checks and balances
Yes.
for those innocent people, the kids that are going into these homes and being exposed to unknowns and being put in uncomfortable situations like you were. And I probably should have started our conversation with, you can learn more about what Darlene kind of went through and some of the stuff she's referring to in the podcast we did when you and I first started this. It was like episode whatever. You can go back and look at it. The other thing I want to say is, if we start to go down a road that makes you feel uncomfortable, wiggle your foot, something, we'll just be out of it, okay? But as we've been doing this PTSD stuff, it has become real obvious that talking about it is very, very helpful. And also, this kind of goes in line with what you were saying when we first started interviewing. You have kind of a purpose in life where this could be one of those pieces of that purpose where you make a difference with somebody on the foster care adoption side of it. And then also along the side of the abuse and the sexual abuse and stuff like that. So this kind of ties together with what we've created this podcast for. But I want you to be comfortable. And I don't want to ever have you feel like we're prying or you're going down a road you don't want to go down. So I just wanted to say that. So you were talking about the process of before you lived with your mom and dad, the foster system just left you out cold and dry. And then when you went to your mom and dad's house, was there interaction with the social workers?
Again, I don't remember. And I don't remember if it's because I blacked it out, like, a lot of that stuff. To my knowledge, I just don't ever remember anyone coming and checking on us to see how we were doing, how we
Right,
were getting along, if anything was going on, or, I mean, just nothing. I
right.
just don't remember anything. And maybe they did come and they talked to the foster parents, but they just didn't talk to us. I honestly can't tell you if that
Right.
did or didn't happen. But the foster system is definitely broken. And with everything that's coming out on the news right now, with the fake,
The fraud and
the,
stuff.
the
And
fraud and all of that, just really brought up a lot of things for me of how broken the system still is and is probably worse than when I was a kid. It just breaks my heart and it makes me sad. It's just kind of like we're thrown to the wayside.
and
Like,
that's actually a really good point because we don't know what happens here in California. We do know there are a lot of kids that run away from foster homes, which is somewhat understandable. But if it's a bad environment, it's not a nurturing environment, they're more likely to run away. When you were given to a foster parent, a foster family, do you know if they received state money like they do here in California?
they did.
They did.
And I think a lot of the reason people do fostering is for that reason. It is not for
Nurturing,
yes, making a difference in someone's life and making their life for the better. Sometimes you can go into a worse situation than what you were in. I feel like when kids are dropped off, that they're just kind of not going to say not even thought of, but I think there's so many kids in the foster system. And I believe that the social workers are overworked.
right?
There's too many on their plate.
Right.
So something has to be done to change that because what you're trying to do and what they're trying to do is take you out of a situation that's bad and trying to put you into a better home, a better environment. But I don't feel like they're really doing their research and they're really checking on these families and doing the background and all of the things that really need to be done. I just think, okay, we have a situation where we need to get this kid. These people applied. They seem like
Right.
nice people. The neighbor said they were nice. Well, you don't know what goes on behind closed doors. I mean,
Right.
you hear about all these kids that don't get fed and they're chained up and they're locked up.
Right.
Like you took me out of a bad situation of being sexually abused, but yet you put me back into a
Another one.
situation
Yeah.
where it continued to happen and still no one checked on me.
Right. And we're not looking at this from a point of view that all foster is bad. We're
No.
looking at this as your situation was
Yes.
exactly this. And that's what we're explaining. So, those of you that are foster parents out there, if any are listening, or have adopted, we're not talking about you because if you've adopted them, most likely you have created that bond, that
Yes.
relationship, just like your mom and dad did with you. I know your mom. I love your mom. And she described it was very difficult that first year because she wanted to be attached to you guys, but she was always worried that you guys would be pulled away. And then that's when she finally said enough's enough because she kept seeing that roller coaster going on. So your mom is one of those parents that should be modeled as
Yes.
a foster parent. This is what that picture should look like. This is what that home should look like.
Yeah, when I got to, my mom and dad's, of course that was scary at first, but we were comfortable after a year and didn't want to be pulled away from what we now considered our mom and dad, our
Right.
family, our brother. When my parents asked us if we wanted to be adopted, there was just like no question for us. I remember being in the courtroom with the judge, and the judge asked how things were and how we liked the home and everything, and if we knew like what being adopted meant. And so that was nice. Funny story, I did not have a middle name, before I was adopted.
Oh,
And I remember the judge asking me if I wanted a middle name. And I just remember thinking, what? Like, I can have a middle name? Like, that was so cool.
wow.
And then I had to pick a name. I
On
was
the
like,
spot.
yeah, I was like, oh God, I don't know. And on my biological side of my family, I have a cousin. Her name is Jean. Always looked up to her, like, always admired her. She's just the
Hmm.
kindest, sweetest person. So I chose the middle name Jean, not realizing what a hick name I just chose for myself
Matches where you were born.
because it's Darlene Jean. I'm a cowgirl, but it's a real hick name. But I just remember being so excited that I got to have a middle name.
That's so cool.
So yeah, it was a great day. You know, my mom recently has told me some stories about that day in regards to my biological mom that I didn't know about. But I don't hate my biological mom. She is now passed on. I'm very grateful for what she did. She tried her best. I can't fault her for that. I can't be
Right.
mad at her for that. And on top of that, everything that my biological dad, my cousins, and anyone that ever did me wrong in that situation, the way I have dealt with it is I have gone to counseling. When they adopted us, or before they adopted us, we went to counseling. After they adopted us, we went to counseling. So, you know, I've been to counseling on and off my entire life. But also, my parents are Christians. We grew up in a Christian home, grew up going to church, believing in God. And I think that really helped me was to learn to lean on God and to trust him and know that when all of their days come that did me wrong, they were going to have to face God. And that's how I am able to deal with it on a day-to-day basis and cope and have such a great outlook on life and stuff. And I think sometimes people say, you know, well, like, how can you be positive and all of these things?
Forgive or,
And yeah, and it's just because I know God and I'm a Christian and I know that they're going to have to pay for what they did.
right.
I also am a believer that everything happens for a reason. And
Amen.
I'm not saying, you know, God didn't want this to happen. This wasn't God's doing. This was the devil. And it has also made me a stronger person. And I've been able to help other girls and
Yes.
counsel other
Yes.
girls, going to church and even outside of church, and the jobs I've had, being in the police department. It was a blessing and an honor to be able to give back to someone else what God's given me, the
Right.
strength.
And before we go too far away from your adoption, you growing up in your mom and dad's house, the memories that you have of life, what you did and how you did it. You had a very, what I would consider normal life. They kept you very loved. Is that true?
All the time. My mom and dad are amazing.
Yes.
My dad has passed away a few years ago, but you know, my parents are just amazing. The foundation that they set is just amazing.
I agree.
And it's made me who I am today.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that it was perfect, but I was more able to get through things. And even now in life, because of the foundation that they set.
Right.
And nobody's perfect. No family is perfect.
Right.
But in my eyes, I have the most perfect, best parents anyone could ever ask for. And I feel very honored and blessed that they chose us.
Yeah. And you know, one of the things when I first met your biological mom was in the hospital when she was getting ready to pass away. And I remember feeling a huge sense of honor because she did a very brave act and a very selfless act by allowing you to go to a better place. And then she didn't interrupt that family life. And your mom actually encouraged you and your sister to keep a relationship with your
Yes.
biological mom, which you did, which may have made an impact on you as well, because you can see now what life would have been in Mississippi and what it is. So in my mind, it was like, wow, that one selfless act made you who you are today. Granted, there was a lot of turmoil along the road, but your mom, who filled those boots and actually overfilled them, gave you exactly what you needed. And so that's the foster home that was becoming the adoptive home, which then became your home. It's no longer, she's not your adopted mom. She's your mom.
Yes.
And your sister looks at it the same way.
Yeah, and I want to bring up, I don't ever want to say, I would never think bad of anyone who gives their kids up for adoption.
Right.
And for the people out there who are me and my sister, they're not doing it because they don't want you. They're doing it because they're trying to give you a better life.
In
They're
most
trying
cases.
in most cases, they're trying to give you what they can't give you.
Right.
So I don't blame my biological parents. They had issues. And my biological parents tried to do what they thought was best. And even being in and out of the foster homes, they tried to get better. They tried to better themselves. And then we would come back and, it would be fine for a while. And then it would go back to the way things were. They tried, they did the best that they could do
Right.
at that time in their life. So I don't blame them. I don't hate them. And I encourage other kids who have been in me and my sister's situation, being in and out of foster homes. Try not to blame or feel like you weren't wanted. It's not that they didn't want you or they didn't care about you. It's that they couldn't. My biological parents couldn't.
Right. Mentally, they could not.
Yeah, just all around, they couldn't. They did not know how to be functioning human beings, first of all, let alone parents.
Right.
So I want people to try to kind of like think about that and think, even though all of the crap happened that happened in every foster home and they just weren't good experiences, I would never blame my biological parents
Right.
and hate what I've gone through.
Right.
Obviously, I hate it, but it's also made me who I am today.
And before we run out of time, that's kind of where I wanted to close the door on this for right now, because I do think there's a lot that can happen, and maybe having your sister on and maybe even your mom on to eventually talk about this. But the difference you have already made in one person's life, which I know there's been more than one, because you've come home and told me stories about women that have come into the police department and you've had interactions with them. But the one that strikes me the most is the mentoring that you do today. You're not employed with the Modesto Police Department anymore.
No, I had to unfortunately medically retire.
During your employment with the police department, you wanted to give back. You wanted to mentor a young school-age girl who was in kind of a troubled area. Why don't you give me a little story about the first and the second, how that's gone on, and you're still doing it on your own time, which is, I think, the most amazing part.
Yeah, so through the police department, they have a mentoring program where you can go to a school. You have to go through the background and then you go in and talk to the facility and they kind of tell you, like what it is to be mentoring, what you're going to be doing. So I started doing that 4 years ago now.
Yeah, at least, maybe 5.
Yeah, 4 or 5 years ago. And it's an amazing program because it's kids who have troubled homes, some of them not the best situations. And you get to go for an hour and spend an hour with this person, whether it's a girl or a boy. And like you said, make a difference. I wish I would have had something like that. And I hope that they remember, as they get older and think back about this time. It's such an amazing gift to give somebody. It's just a little piece of you, and you might just be that person that makes a difference
Yes.
for them, whether it's you being positive or laughing with them, or Christmas time and their birthdays, we're allowed to buy them gifts and stuff. And it's just amazing to see them open it up and they'll remember that. And I'll remember it, if you can mentor in any way, shape, or form, being through what you've been through, it's just a great.
Right. And you don't have to be a public servant. You can be anybody to go through and to become a mentor. And it's a very structured environment. You're at the school. You can only meet and talk at the school. It's not
Yes.
like you can talk outside of it. So they control that part of it very much so that there's not like an overstepping. You don't start to see the kid after school and then they start to distance from their parents. It's nothing like that. So that you've done it for as long as you've had, and you've had two different girls, I think it's just amazing that you are giving back. You're not just saying, hey, we should be doing this. You are doing this. You're helping those little girls or the people that are struggling or just need that extra little help.
Yes, and I am on year 4 because you mentor for 3 years. So the program that I'm going through, you mentor them till they're in the 8th grade, and then once they go into high school, the
Right.
program just doesn't go beyond that. So now I have a new girl,
At the same school.
a different school.
Oh, that's right. It is a different
It
school.
is a
Okay.
different school. So it was hard to not be able to see who I mentored for 3 years. I wanted to be able to see them go through high school
Right.
and go through life. So that part of it's a bit hard, but I just hope and pray that I made some type
Right.
of a difference and she
Right.
remembers as she gets older. But mentoring is something anyone should do, whether you've been in the foster system, not been in the foster system, had a great life, didn't have whatever. It's just a great thing to do for these kids.
That's awesome. I'm very proud of you for that. And again, I am thankful for every step that you've had to take in life, the painful ones as well as the good ones, because that gave me you as you are right now. And I love it. We're blessed. We both have things that we can look back on and just go, wow, this could have ended up really bad. This
Yes.
could have been very different. But we both ended up here right now.
Yes.
And I love that. So we are going to end this podcast. I do want to say that we have a sponsor. Nathan Kirkwood, an old buddy of mine, is sponsoring this episode and one more episode. And I'm going to have you say his name,
It's Hermitage Dental Lab.
Hermitage. So he builds teeth for people that need dental implants, stuff like that. He's got a lab in Tennessee. I know he's opening up a second lab. He's been doing this for a long time. We will put a link to his website and what he does in the show notes. But again, Nathan, thank you for sponsoring this one and one other one. Darlene, thank you for talking about kind of a sensitive subject, but I think, again, it's something that is helpful.
Foster care is not all bad. And if there's anyone out there that would like to be on the show and would like to talk through things or even talk about your situation, reach out to me on our social media and I will get back to you and we'll get it set up.
Thank you. Awesome. I look forward to that. If you have any concerns or questions, you can reach out to us. We're on social media. Please click the like and subscribe button down below. Also, shoot us some messages. We bumped into a really neat couple this past weekend that we really enjoyed talking to. So, it's always nice just talking to people about their world and how similar we can relate to it. So, thank you. We've had a really good time. I've enjoyed this conversation as always, and we'll see you on the next one.